This story happened years ago to Mistress Momo, a kindergarten teacher in a very old school building that was over 100 years old. The building was a little scary, and strange things would happen. The toilets would flush by themselves, and the lights would turn on and off. Mistress Momo thought it was just because the building was old, but one day she asked the parents of her students to answer some questions. One of the questions was about their child's friends at school. 7 parents said their child had a friend named Alex, but here's the thing, there was no Alex in the school. The teacher was confused. She asked the students about Alex, and they said that he was the quiet boy who sat by the bookshelf and cried a lot. Mistress Momo thought that maybe her students were just imagining things, until everything got weirder when one of the students came up to her and said, "Mistress Momo, Alex wants the chair back by the bookshelf so he can sit there and look out the window when you read stories." This story happened years ago to a man who went camping with his family. They were having a good time in the woods, but then something weird happened. The man woke up in the middle of the night and felt something was off. He went to look for his sons, but they weren't in their tents. He found them walking on a trail, and they said they had gotten up because they felt like something was calling them. As they walked together, they heard a soft voice. They followed the sound and found a young woman sitting by the water. She was crying and looking scared. When the man approached her, she whispered something in a different language that they couldn't understand, and then she vanished. The man and the sons were shocked and couldn't explain what they had just seen. After they got back home, strange things started happening. They heard footsteps in the hallway at night, and their dog was acting unusual. One night, his son's girlfriend woke up screaming. She said she saw a girl standing next to her boyfriend's bed, staring at him. Then the girl disappeared. Her description of the girl that she saw matched what they had just seen in the woods. None of them had any idea why the girl had followed them, but they were sure that everything happened for a reason. This story happened to a woman who went to Japan with her team in 2017. They were helping a small village in the mountains. The woman and her team stayed in an old building that was not very nice. The bathrooms were small and didn't have mirrors, so the woman would use a big mirror in the hallway to fix her hair at night. One night while she was fixing her hair, she heard a strange tapping sound. It was coming from a room behind her. She tried to ignore it, but then she heard another noise. It sounded like someone was moving around. Then the door to the room suddenly closed, and it created a very loud sound. The woman was very scared. She grabbed her things and ran to her room. She didn't know what was happening, but she knew that she didn't want to be there. The next morning, she found out that the room was supposed to be empty. No one was allowed to stay there because it was being fixed. The woman was confused and scared. She didn't know what had happened that night, but she knew it was something strange. This story happened to a female college student who shared a dorm room with her best friend in 2016. Everything seemed normal, not until they started to notice strange things happening in their room. Decorations would fall off the walls, and things would go missing. They would hear weird noises at night, like someone was walking around or knocking on things. They even saw a dark figure standing in the doorway of their room. At first, they thought it was just the people living upstairs being loud, but when they went to complain, the upstairs neighbors said they weren't making any noise. Things got even weirder when the student had a very scary dream one night. In the dream, she was standing over her friend's bed, feeling like she wanted to hurt her. The dream felt so real that it woke her up in a sweat. She didn't sleep well for nights after that. It wasn't until they moved out of the dorm that they found out something disturbing. Their dorm was located right next to the place where a serial killer had murdered several women years ago. It's when they realized that the area might be haunted by bad spirits. This story happened to a woman who visited Ithaca Falls in New York with her mom. They were on a trip to check out some colleges. When they got to the falls, the woman went down to take some pictures. She felt a little weird, like someone was watching her, but she didn't see anyone. So she went back up to the car. Her mom said, "Hey, why don't you go back down and take a video?" The woman didn't want to, but she did. This time she felt even more scared. She took the video fast and tried to leave, but then something strange happened. She felt like she couldn't move. It was like something was holding her back. She felt a big presence behind her, and then she heard a voice. It said, "Yoo-hoo," right next to her ear. The woman was so scared that she ran back up to the car as fast as she could. She told her mom to drive away quickly, and they left. The woman is still scared when she thinks about what happened. She doesn't know what it was, but it felt real. This story happened to a second-year high school student at a private school in Cavite, Philippines back in 2010. Every day after lunch, their class would meet in the gym to listen to announcements. Then they would walk up to their classroom on the 5th floor. One day, something strange happened. He and his friends, Lambert and Denzel, were walking to their classroom after lunch. They decided to stop by the bathroom first. Denzel went in, and he and Lambert followed their friend Denzel. But when they got inside, the bathroom was empty, and Denzel was nowhere to be found. He and Lambert looked at each other, confused. They knew Denzel had just walked in, but now he was gone. They quickly ran out of the bathroom and went to their classroom, and that's when things got even weirder. Denzel was already sitting at his desk like nothing had happened. He and his friend Lambert were shocked and didn't know what to think. They were sure they had seen Denzel walk into the bathroom, but if Denzel had been in their classroom all this time, then who was the person who went into the bathroom with them? This story happened to a male student who went to a high school with a sad history. A long time ago, a girl fell off the bell tower and died. People said the school was haunted, but the student didn't believe it. One day, he was walking down a quiet hallway when he heard footsteps behind him. He thought it was just another student, so he didn't turn around. When he got to the doors that led to the stairs, he stopped and waited for the other students to catch up, but no one came. He turned around, and that's when things got weird. The doors were open, even though he knew he hadn't left them that way. The student was confused and didn't have any idea what was going on. He was alone in the hallway, and it was quiet. Suddenly, the doors shut slowly, like someone was closing them gently. The student was scared, so he ran down the stairs as fast as he could. He didn't stop until he was safely in the cafeteria with his friends. After that, he never walked down that hallway alone again. He always took the long way around, just in case. This story happened years ago to a man named Tim during a road trip with his mom. They were driving along the California coast, looking for a place to camp for the night. After a long drive, they finally found a campsite at the top of a mountain. It was already dark, so they decided to settle in for the night. As they sat by the fire, Tim heard some noises in the trees. At first, he thought it was just an animal, but then he saw two people walking towards them. What was strange was that these people were dressed in white, holding hands and walking in the dark without any flashlights. They didn't say a word to Tim or his mom, and they just kept walking until they disappeared into the trees again. Tim's mom didn't see them, and Tim was left feeling confused and a little scared. The next morning, Tim asked the camp owner about what he saw, and surprisingly, the camp owner wasn't even shocked about it. The camp owner said that people sometimes see strange things in those woods. He called them night walkers, and Tim couldn't help but wonder what that meant. This story happened years ago to a driver who was on his way home from a late night drive. It was around 12:30 a.m. and he was used to driving alone at night, so he wasn't nervous or scared. As he drove across a bridge, he slowed down because the fog was thick. That's when he saw her, a woman standing alone on the side of the bridge, wearing a white dress. She was holding a little child in her arms. Suddenly, his car stopped on its own, and he was surprised. He rolled down his window and asked the woman if he needed any help, but she didn't say anything. Instead, she pointed down at him. The driver looked at the child, and what he saw really surprised him. The child's face was bloody red. With so much fear, he quickly drove away as fast as he could. He didn't look back, and he didn't stop driving until he was far away from that bridge. Even now, he can't shake the feeling that something strange happened that night. This story happened years ago to a 14-year-old Boy Scout during a camping trip in Yellowstone National Park. One day, while eating lunch, he saw something moving in the rocks below. This was strange because it was a cliff with sharp rocks, and there was no way to get down there easily. At first, he thought it might be an animal, but then he saw something that made him wonder. He saw a head and eyes peeking out from behind the rock. It didn't look like any person or animal he had ever seen before. It was very skinny and had long arms. When it noticed him looking, it quickly quickly hid behind the rock again. The scout was confused and didn't tell anyone what he saw. He thought they might think that he was crazy. Later that day, he and a friend went exploring in the woods. They kept walking, but somehow they ended up back where they started, seeing the same trees and bushes over and over again. It was like they were stuck in the same place. Their compass stopped working, and they got really confused. When they finally made it back to camp, they were surprised to find out that only 15 minutes had passed. It felt like much longer. The scout was left wondering what had just happened. His experiences made him believe that the place might be hiding something. This story happened years ago to a man during a forest hunting with his cousin. They were miles away from town, surrounded by darkness and the sounds of the woods. Suddenly, they heard a woman screaming for help. The screams were loud and clear, and he and his cousin immediately went to investigate. They were both law enforcement officers, so they knew what to do in case of an emergency. As they walked towards the screams, they called out to the woman, telling her to stay where she was. But the screams kept moving away from them, making it hard to pinpoint where they were coming from. He and his cousin walked for about 10 minutes, trying to follow the sound. Finally, they came across an old tunnel, and the screams seemed to be coming from the inside. He was hesitant to enter the tunnel, but his cousin convinced him to take a look. As they shone their lights into the tunnel, they saw something that really scared them. A pair of eyes stared back at them, pale and white in the darkness. Then, everything went silent. The screams stopped, and there was no other sound. He and his cousin were left standing there, wondering what had just happened. They called for help, and their rescue team arrived soon after. But when they searched the tunnel, they found nothing. No signs of the woman, no clues as to what had happened. It was as if she had vanished into thin air.